Hey guys, welcome to Mad Scientist BBQ. I'm Jeremy Yoder, and today I'm really excited to be doing a cook on this Meadow Creek TS500 reverse flow offset smoker. Now, a lot of you guys have seen the tour I did of this offset smoker. You've kind of seen what it looks like, but today we'll actually be going through a cook, and I think the best way to see how a smoker cooks is by cooking a brisket, because it's got a long smoke time, and then the deficiencies of the smoker or its good qualities will show up in that process. So, to get a really good idea of the smoke flavor, today I'm only seasoning with salt and pepper, and you've seen me do a ton of brisket videos on YouTube, so we're not going to go through the process of how I trim or season, but we will show you how the smoker cooks. We'll be updating you as the cook goes along so you can see the kind of color that it gets, how it renders the fat, and just kind of the overall functionality of how the smoker works. Okay, this brisket is ready to go. Let's get it on. So just for you guys out there, the way I'm orienting this, because the smoke is coming this way back toward where the firebox is, I'm going to put the point that direction so it can take the brunt of the heat and punishment there. And we're going to let this guy hang out here for 2, maybe 3 hours. I might take a peek early just to see what kind of color we're getting, but the plan is cook it like normal and see how this thing does. Whew, smoky. Don't usually get this emotional about cooking briskets. Alright, it's been several hours now, so I just wanted to check in, and we can see that we're starting to get some good color on here. And the fat is starting to render pretty well. So if you see that, it squeezes out juices. So that's something really good that we want to see. And then everything still feels pretty firm. So we're going to have to go a little while longer before we wrap. And I kind of want to see what the underside looks like. That looks really good. Lots of juice. Now, just to prevent anything from crusting up and burning, I'm going to spray it with some apple cider vinegar. Now, one big difference between this and my fat stack smoker is that this is much less likely to crust up and burn parts of the brisket because it's a reverse flow. On my fat stack, I mean, air is whipping through there so fast that parts can dry out on the exterior and they can become charred if you're not paying careful attention. And to me, it seems like using this smoker is more forgiving than using a big 500-gallon offset like what I have from Fat Stacks. But I see that these edges here are getting a little drier. They're not crusty or anything. They still feel, soft. But I can tell that they're starting to dry out a little bit. So in order to prevent anything from being inedible at the end, I'm just going to spray it a little bit and try to soften those bits up a little bit more. Another piece of information is, on this part of the cooker, just running just a plain fire, we've been cooking about 265, as high as 275, as low as 250, but a pretty reasonable, normal temperature for me to cook brisket. Internal temperature right now is about 155. I'm going to let that go to maybe about 170. When it hits 170, we'll pull it out, wrap it up, and then get it finished off. It's super smoky. The crazy thing is, on my fat stack, it draws air so much through the cooker that when I open the doors, the smoke doesn't come out the same way. It's not as much smoke, or at least it doesn't appear to be, because it's either really hot and goes straight up, or it gets drawn toward that smokestack. So smoke is obviously coming out, and a lot of it, but it's not coming out sideways at me like this. Whew, it's something I didn't foresee. Now I've used this before, but I didn't have the same experience, maybe because I had both doors open at the same time, but yeah, just a subtle difference that may be interesting to you. A major part of what you're doing when you're barbecuing is managing the fire. That's the primary thing I'm focused on in the middle of a cook. And so I want to show you guys a little bit about how I found the fire to work best in this smoker and how it's different from what I do in my fat stack. So let's open this guy up and take a look inside. Okay, you see in the middle we have kind of a misshapen log there, and on the left we have a normal log. And so what I found is that when I'm actually running this fire, I have to build the fire no higher than the bottom of that opening that goes into the cooker, the main cook chamber. What I found is if I do it too high, rather than drawing all the air through, what you get is this vertical section crazy hot, like 350, because the flames are just rising and they're not drawing through the smoker, because those exhaust gases are super, super hot. They just go to the top of the firebox and they don't go through the cooker. So keeping it low enough allows those flames to get drawn into that space under the baffle and then go and cook your meat. So the first time I ever tried to use this thing, I built a roaring fire. I mean, it was blazing hot. Like standing this close, you would have been burned. It was crazy hot, but the temperature in the cook chamber was only like 150 degrees and I could not figure it out. And so eventually I got frustrated and I said to myself, I got to start it over. And so I took the shovel, spread everything down to like base level, and then went inside to get a drink of water. I came back outside. The smoker was purring away at 300 degrees. And then I realized I was just simply building the fire way too high. Now in my fat stack, it draws so well that I can build a fire in the firebox and you actually see the flames bend toward the opening to the cook chamber because it draws so incredibly well. And I'd never experienced something where you have to kind of work with it to get it to draw. In this case, you just have to know how the smoker wants to work and build your fire accordingly. And so as you can see here, we've got open flames, lots of oxygen. We're burning a clean fire, exactly what you want. You just have to know what works for each cooker individually. So if you get one of these, you may run into that same problem that I had. So just don't build the fire too high. You can build it spread out because it's a big firebox. Just keep it below the bottom of that lip and you'll be okay. Another issue about running the fire in this smoker that's different than in my fat stack is obviously the vents and how that is set up. So on my 500-gallon fat stack, the only intake is the door. So I adjust everything with the door. And most of the time the door is either wide open or cracked so that it has plenty of oxygen. That's something I'll include in a fire management video on that big smoker in the future. But the difference here is the door isn't the only intake. There are two vents on the side that we showed you in the tour of this pit. And what I've discovered to burn a really clean fire and to maximize efficiency is to have the door adjusted like this. Let me show you. So while I'm running this, I have it kind of locked into place, something like this. Essentially what you do by putting the door there is it's kind of like a heat shield. So all the heat that would be coming out of the back is wasted heat. And it kind of reflects it inside. The heat travels through the cooker. You get the heat going through the smoker, cooking your meat just like you want to. And then also cracking it like this, you still have lots of oxygen going and you're not constricting the oxygen at all. Instead what you do is the oxygen that's getting pulled in to burn the fire just kind of moves everything in that direction so that it draws through the smoker and you get good clean smoke. You get efficiency in terms of how much wood you're burning, and you don't get a bunch of smoke and flavor leaving the cooker that's not doing any job. Now the final thing, if you guys out there are interested in purchasing something like this, is your best friend will be a handy dandy shovel. Now this is what I use as my primary barbecue tool, right? That and gloves. So I'm using a shovel every 10-15 minutes and I'm staring at a fire. And so this is actually a brand new shovel because up until this point this smoker only ever had kosher meat on it. It was for, I can't say who it was for, can I?
No.
Alright, so it's for somebody I wanted to make some kosher briskets for, and so I needed brand new equipment that had never been used, even the shovel. Everything had to be completely brand new. New cutting board, new knife, new thermopen. Everything had to be overseen by what's called a mashgiach, which is somebody who oversees the production of kosher food. I had to clear everything with a rabbi from a kosher certification agency, and it was a big hassle. But now that purpose is done, and I thought about, you know, filling up the smoker with a bunch of pork just to spite those guys, but but I didn't. I just put a brisket on there. But it's not kosher, so the smoker is now rendered unkosher. But anyway, what you want is just a plain shovel. I would caution you against a shovel that has plastic in the handle, because I don't want any plastic getting in there. I mean, you wouldn't want this wood to burn either, but I still want the flavor of burning plastic to ever go through my smoker. So you're going to use this, and basically you're just going to be rearranging the logs so that you have sufficient airflow around them, so you're burning a good clean fire. And again, I'll be putting out a fire management video where I go through that whole process in detail. I'll even include some nerdy scientific stuff for the people who are interested, and maybe we'll give a disclaimer so you can skip ahead in the video if you don't like that. But this is what you're doing on a big smoker. You're managing the fire all the time. There's a reason why the people who, you know, run old school barbecue joints are called pit masters. It's because that's what you're doing. You're running the fire in that smoker. It's the critical aspect, and it's what separates good barbecue from great barbecue. Now, if you don't want to be bothered by, you know, running a fire and checking on it every 10 minutes for, you know, 14, 16 hours, I totally get that. I have no beef with anybody, well, no pun intended there. I have no issues with anybody who just wants convenient barbecue. And by all means, yeah, you can do a pellet smoker, you can do a Weber Smoky Mountain. There are a lot of options that you have for convenient barbecue. But to me, you reach the pinnacle of what you can achieve in barbecue flavor with something that requires more effort in an offset stick burning smoker. Fun fact, they're filming a movie here on the ranch, so there are trucks and stuff everywhere. But I'm thankful for craft services, because every day I can just go and get free food, which is fun. Now, if you asked me to kind of differentiate between this smoker and my fat stack, I would still choose my fat stack because I love that thing. But basically, what I would say is this provides a level of protection that you don't get in the fat stack smoker. So in a fat stack, you can produce, I think, a better final product, but you can also ruin it really easily if you're not careful. With this, you'd have to work really hard to ruin the meat inside because of the reverse flow. It kind of protects you from burning anything up. If I built a fire in the fat stack that was too big, I would burn everything inside that smoker really quickly. So I think that's the big difference. So great product, maybe not quite as good as a fat stack, but I think that the ease of use makes this a really great choice for a lot of people. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Eric Rowley at Barbecue HQ in Simi Valley. He's the one who let me use this smoker, so incredibly grateful to him for that. And if you guys are in the LA area, you have to go check out Barbecue HQ in Simi. It is so cool. For me, going is like being a kid in a candy store. I had so much fun. I wanted to look at all the smokers, you know, open them up and see how they worked. And the one thing I will say that's critically important is that they legitimately know barbecue there. I talked to Eric on the phone for 5 minutes before I realized this guy's a legit barbecue enthusiast. I mean, it pumps through his blood. So if you're in LA, check him out. I guarantee you, you will not be disappointed. And even if you don't want to buy a smoker, just go and look around. It'll be a blast. You know why the three wise men had ashes on their boots? Because they came from afar. All right, it's been a couple minutes, and so we're going to check the temperature on this brisket just to see how close we are to wrapping at this point. Let's go here. Ooh, 178. Looks pretty good. Check here. Okay, let's go all the way in, see where we are. In the middle of the flat, we're looking like 177. So it's getting time to wrap, actually. Yeah, right there, 168. So let's just see. Yeah. Okay, just pulled this brisket off, and this one was done in lightning speed for me. Usually takes me about 16 hours or so to cook a brisket on my big smoker. This one was only about 11 hours. So let's unwrap it. We didn't let it rest for as long as I wanted to, but we're going to lose light. So in order to be able to see me slicing it, we got to do it now. So I'll cut a few slices off. We'll check out the flavor and just how it came out overall. And then we'll do brisket tacos tomorrow morning with this brisket. And hopefully we get some footage of that. You guys can see those. They should be really good. It sure smells good. Okay, so I'm just going to take off a couple slices just to see what the flavor is like. I want to get the flavor of that smoke, see if there's a noticeable difference between this or a standard backyard offset or the big 500-gallon fat stack smoker that I have. So first, let's get this end cut off of here. And so that looks tasty. All right, that's good. The smoke flavor isn't as strong as the fat stack, but it's a good clean smoke. I think it's superior to just a regular backyard offset, at least the ones that I've used in the past. But it's not, the smoke doesn't come through as strongly as it would with my 500-gallon fat stack. But let's get a couple of these slices from the flat and see what they're like. Alright, so we can see that this fat has rendered beautifully, so nobody's going to have any problems just taking a bite of that. You get the juiciness from that rendered fat. You see a good smoke ring on the bottom there, and this looks like a really good slice. So if we do the pull test here, let's see how we did. So it's not falling, but if you tug it, yeah, it comes right apart. So that's good. Alright, so let me give it a bite and see what it's like. It's like brisket magic. That's really good. Yeah, not a super strong smoke flavor, but it's definitely there and it's good. Man, that's good stuff. There's gonna be some killer tacos tomorrow. Alright, I just wanted to do a quick video inside because the lighting outside I know is probably not very good. I haven't seen the footage, but I'm guessing it's not great. And this brisket has had a little bit more time to rest at this point, and so I was just slicing it up. Going to feed the neighbors because I'm a good neighbor like that, and it just looks so juicy. I thought, you know, it just deserves to be on film. So I'm going to cut open this point, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, let's check it out. Oh yeah, that looks to look at that. Look at all that juice. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's just glistening everywhere. That looks great. I mean, it's just glistening with juice everywhere. That's good. And then if we do the obligatory squeeze that everybody does, it just pours out with more juice. So let's look at the other side here. Okay. And as you guys have seen, this hasn't gotten the squeeze, but you see moisture, 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 moisture everywhere. The smell is intoxicating. So good. And you can see this fat has rendered down. It's kind of translucent there. You know, you see it's gone from being white to this kind of translucent clearish, which is going to be delicious. And nothing's burned. Everything is just looking great. So, got to feed the neighbor, so let's cut off some slices for him. This is a good looking slice here. It's just pretty glistening. You see the smoke ring even got through the fat on the top, smoke ring on the bottom, here on the point. This is going to be really tasty stuff. Overall, my impressions of this smoker are that it's really good. It's not my favorite way to cook, but the smoker is great. You can do a ton of meat. You can, do it in a way that you don't really risk, burning anything on there. You get great real smoke flavor, and it's just a nice smoker to cook on. If you're interested in one of these, go check one out. I mean, just to, open the doors and check it out, I think it'll be helpful to you in making a decision about what kind of smoke you'd want in the future. But overall, I'm very pleased with this brisket. I'm really happy with how it turned out. The flavor is great. And I'm gonna save the rest of this brisket for brisket tacos tomorrow and hopefully make some people really happy. All right, thank you guys for watching Mad Scientist BBQ. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button down below. You can subscribe for more fun, informative barbecue content. You can follow me on Instagram at Mad Scientist BBQ. See you next time.